Good evening, friends. Today we'll look at the quadrant concept of T-well plateau. This basically involves understanding the columns and the virtual equator that runs through the Tibble plateau. I'm your friend Vaibhav, and I'll start with the classical Schatzger's classification of tibial condyle fractures. We all know that Schatzger described it from type 1 to type 6, the type 1 being the lateral condyle fracture, which is a split of the lateral tibial plateau. The type 2 is split with depression, type 3 is pure depression, type 4 is the medial condyle, type 5 is bicondylar fracture, and type 6 is one with diaphyseal extension. So this is a very popular classification system, and most of us have used it in some form or the other. So what has changed? So this classification showed only fair or moderate accuracy for decision making. And in this era of 3D CT scans and 2D axial images, clearly the role of just a biplanar radiographs has been supplemented, if not completely taken over by these modern diagnostic technology. It was important to improve our understanding of these fractures, have better communication and documentation, and most importantly, improve the decision making. And why did this need occur for the paradigm shift? It was because that we started recognizing fracture in coronal plane. And I must mention here two very important work by Luo and Chang. Luo, who first said that how tibial plateau can be utilized or can be classified into three columns, emphasizing the relevance of the coronal plane oriented fractures. And Chang took it further to divide the surface of the tibial plateau in the four quadrants so as to bring further clarity when addressing complex high energy bicondylar fractures. We all know of the anatomy, and we know that the medial and lateral column of the tibial condyle behave differently. The medial cortex is more dense bone and gets fractured with only high energy traumas, whereas the lateral fractures are much more common. We are also aware about the anatomy of the attachments of the tibial collateral and the attachments on the fibular head. And we must remember this because this is a well established concept of the columns of the tibial condyle. What is new, however, is the equator. Now, so for the equator, there's a line joining the lateral to the medial side, and the reference point on the lateral side is the lateral tubercle of fibula, which corresponds to the insertion of the fibular collateral ligament. On the medial side of the joint, the virtual equator intersects the tibial plateau just posterior to the attachment of superficial medial collateral ligament, which also coincides distally with posterior tibial crest. So if you look at this picture here, you can see that this line is starting from the fibular collateral ligament origin and just anterior to it and just going posterior to the insertion of the SMCL. If you look from the lateral aspect, you can see that this is the point of the attachment of the fibular collateral ligament, and this is the posterior margin, and it is going all the way to the crest. This is how it looks at the CT. You can see that's the attachment of the FCL, and here is the SMCL. Now once we have this equator and we have column, we get four quadrants. So this is this perpendicular which divides the medial and lateral column, and this is the equator. So we get four columns, which is basically anteromedial, anterolateral, posterolateral, and posteromedial. On a CT, we'll have a look which will look like this, and you can see there is a fracture line which is predominantly posteromedial. This is a image in which the fibula is on this side compared to the other images. So you'll see that this is the posteromedial fracture fragment. Similarly, this fracture line is predominantly in the anterolateral region, and you can see the triangle here, and it is clearly anterior to the attachment of FCL. This is once again a posteromedial fracture fragment, and once we know that where the anatomy is, an appropriate management strategy can be devised. In this case, just getting it reduced to the original place and putting a buttress plate on the posteromedial fragment would suffice. Now people have taken this even further, and this is a 9 fracture fragment configuration that has been described, A through I. So you can see that They've also put tibial tuberosity as C and the fibular head as an additional column called as I. But I think it is taking it a bit too far, and perhaps, in my opinion, a very simplistic view is to just draw a clock here, and you can just have a configuration of where the fracture is lying. So, for example, if there is a fracture line here, it will be somewhere between. So, if you take this as 6 and this is 12, so this will be somewhere between 3 and 5 o'clock. For example, in this particular fracture, if you ask me where the fracture line is, because the 12 is the posterior, I would say the majority of fracture lines lies between 11 and 1, and that's the defect that we need to tackle. It is very important to have this concept, especially if you are doing an arthroscopic assisted fixation, because that will give you a clear idea. And as a scopist, we are very well versed with the clock position of the knee. So that same concept can be borrowed onto the tibial plateau fracture. Similarly, if you look here, what would this be? So if this is 12 o'clock, this is 6 o'clock, so this will lie somewhere between the 9 and 6 o'clock position. So the take home message here is, while we must think in 3D, we have to execute in 2-dimensional, because most of our image intensifier and our plates, screws positioning have to happen in 2-dimensional. We must think in terms of column and draw the equator so that we can identify where our fracture line lies and in which quadrant. And having a clock image set in your mind would help, especially when you are doing cases which are arthroscopic assisted cases. I thank you for your attention and hope that you enjoyed this talk on the column and quadrant concept. Tibial condyle fractures are very common fractures and are often not managed to the optimum satisfaction. However, if one starts thinking in 3 dimension, I think these fractures will become much easier. It's a matter of just envisaging it. In beginning, if someone has to use a 3D reconstruction or even a 3D printed biomodel using 3D printing, I think it will go a long way in getting an accurate end result. Once again, I thank you for your time and appreciate your presence.